All right, we are on the air. This is the
Salutations, people of
Ethereal.
Earth.
What's that?
I said, salutations, people of Earth.
Yeah,
I do.
greetings to planet Earth. Um,
Greetings.
law. So, as basically everybody knows by now, our our metal god has passed on to the great Moshpit in the sky. Lemmy is no longer with us in person. Died at the age of 70, just 4 days after his 70th birthday. And
4 days, man. That's some really metal birthday present, if you ask me.
yeah, yeah, really. Like he Lemmy was more than just just a bass player. He was more than just a rock and roller. He was rock and roll itself.
Dude, Lemmy was an icon of music. He was like the I don't know, he's the Michael Jackson of heavy metal, a ballet comparison. I don't know. I'm just improvising, but that's how it felt. It was a living legend.
They, like
The guy was
Lemmy is one of those people who will never die.
yeah.
Like, never ever. He's gonna, so long as there are humans who are alive to recount his story, Lemmy will still be alive.
While there are humans who get inspired enough to drink themselves into oblivion like he did every
Yeah.
weekend, Lemmy will live on. He will forever be in our hearts and in our
Lemmy,
livers.
Lemmy went through 1 liter bottle of Jack Daniels every day.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if this is an urban legend, but I heard somewhere that his doctor told him that he probably should start drinking something softer like vodka.
That is true.
Meaning, God knows what he was drinking at the moment.
That is true. He told him that his doctor was telling him that for some time, and he finally actually did it about 2 or 3 weeks before he died. And yeah,
I think there's a
there was another incident actually where he what is it? He went in to see his doctor, and I think it was maybe his manager or somebody who was connected to him somehow had talked to Lemmy's doctor about giving him a blood transfusion, to see if maybe that might improve his health. And his doctor had actually said that Lemmy was so far into his alcohol that normal blood would probably kill him. I swear to God, and so they never did it. They never gave him a transfusion.
That's the stuff of legends, man.
Really?
That's what you tell your grandchildren about the rock stars in your youth. There's
like I got to see Motorhead live twice. While Lemmy was alive, I get to see Motorhead live twice. Once in Los Angeles, the city where I grew up, and once in Belgium at Grass Pop Metal Meeting in the summer of 2015.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and those guys are just absolutely amazing. The show that they put on in Los Angeles, which, God, when was that? That was 2001, 2002, something like that. It was either 2001 or 2002. It was at the House of Blues in Anaheim, California, which is about without traffic, it's about a 30-minute drive south of LA. With traffic, it's about a 4-hour drive south of LA. But yeah, it was at the House of Blues in Anaheim, and I remember actually that show was one of the best shows I've ever attended in my entire life.
For what I've heard, Motorhead probably had a really brutal live performance.
Oh, absolutely. Really, one of the best concerts I've ever attended. And
I never got to see them. I think this hurts me double than many other people because I never got to see them live.
Yeah.
I have crossed many of my idols from the list. I got to see Rose live. I got to see Trent Reznor live. I got to see Metallica live when they came here to BBK Live Festival in Bilbao.
Yeah.
And I had Rammstein and Motorhead still, and Iron Maiden. I hope the Maiden guys will still
Yeah.
hang on for a couple of
You
years.
you should really see Rammstein. I've seen Rammstein live twice as well. Once in Los Angeles and once in Las Vegas. The one in Las Vegas was another one of the best shows I've ever attended.
Yeah, they came not far from here once actually to Donostia, which is about an hour from
Really?
and yeah, and I never got to see there. I don't know why, because I was stupid probably because I was in my
Mm,
teens, and I
yeah.
remember it, as the stupid age, as they said in Futurama.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
some of my friends who went there got their minds blown because they basically ran around the stage butt naked with flamethrowers, which
Yeah.
is
Basically.
fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So
That's yeah.
that's
That
how it
that
is.
sounds about right.
So yeah, I regret to this day never going to see them, and I know I will regret to this day and further beyond never going to see Motorhead live. Not
Yeah.
that he has left us.
I am really glad that I got to see those guys live. I consider myself very fortunate that I got to catch one of their concerts.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing, as I said before, it's the kind of thing that you tell your grandchildren, in this
Yeah.
not too distant future, in which the pop rock stars will be Justin Bieber and Miley Cyrus.
Yeah.
When
Yeah,
I
basically.
was your age, when I was age, we had this guy who, if he farted, he will set the hotel on fire.
Yeah.
Stop that.
Yeah.
That's Let Me Fucking Kill Mister for you.
Jesus. Like, what is it? Well, I remember during the concert, this was at around that time. It was somewhat recent that Joey Ramone had actually died of cancer, and I think he died of cancer. It was fairly recent that Joey Ramone had died. You know, I think he died about a year prior to that, year or two prior to that concert, and Lemmy, they played one of the Ramones' songs, and Lemmy said into the microphone like, "This next song was by a friend of mine, and he was a friend of all of yours too. Do we have any punks here in the audience tonight? Are there any punks here?" And, he raised his hand to kind of prompt anybody in the audience to raise their hand. And there was this kid. He was maybe 16, 17, and he was wearing the punk vest and patches, and he had his hair up in a mohawk, like a spiked mohawk, and it was his hair was dyed multiple colors, and he had
Classic punk.
piercings in his face, that kind of thing. And so, but it was about 16, 17, that sort of thing. And he raised his hand, and Lemmy, he kind of looked and he did a double take, and he looked at him again, and he said, like, "What? You're not punk. You're not old enough." Like, fuck yeah.
I can picture it in his
Yeah.
voice. Oh, you're not old enough to be punk, mate. Something like that.
Uh,
I always get a kick of impersonating Lemmy's voice.
God.
Now
There
now
was
we
some,
need someone impersonating him.
there was one, I fucking forget what it was, but it was this sort of story, this on television, like one of those sort of VH1 behind the music type kind of shows where they were actually talking about Richie Blackmore, of Deep
Yeah.
Purple. And apparently Richie Blackmore and Lemmy were friends, and they were. It was at one point that they were interviewing Lemmy, and Lemmy was talking about how Richie Blackmore, because like Richie Blackmore kind of liked to play pranks on people, and he was relating this one time where I think it was Richie Blackmore's manager, or not his manager, his one of the PR promoters at some particular club or venue or something like that, and it was in like Denmark or something. That this like PR a rep, whoever it was.
Yeah, basically,
Basically tried to fuck Richie Blackmore. He tried to cheat him out of something. Tried to cheat him out of the royalties for the night, or tried to cheat him on some part of the contract or something like that. And so Lemmy, there's like Lemmy was relaying this story. It's like, oh yeah, this guy, this fucking cunt, he tried to fuck Richie Blackmore on the deal. And so what Richie Blackmore did, he drugged the guy, stripped him naked, tied him up in duct tape, and then put him on a boat bound for Iceland. Yeah. And so the guy woke up and he was naked, buck naked, covered in duct tape. Didn't have any ID cards, didn't have any documentation, and he woke up in Iceland the next morning. Oh, you never messed with Richie Blackmore. It's like, what the fuck?
Richie Blackmore would have made a perfect gang leader, if we ask me.
I swear to God.
Done. That's a mafia payback. That's fucking great. So we will miss also Lemmy's ability to tell tales, because he was, I think that reflected on his songs. He was he was a modern bard. He was a modern, what's the word in English? You know, the guy in Mad Max who's on the top of the truck playing a flamethrower guitar.
I don't know. I haven't seen the movie.
I mean the medieval term for that. You know, the guys who go around with the guitar telling stories. Minstrels. Yeah, minstrels. That's right. Yeah. That's how you know who's the more or less native English speaker of the both. Yeah, he was basically a metal minstrel. That's what Lemmy was.
He really was. Seriously, he really was. Lemmy was a heavy metal minstrel.
Yeah, completely. He was like, I don't know, kind of a heavy metal grandpa. You know, he was like the metal grandfather that we all wanted to have. He sits you on his knees and he tells you something really metal about Richie Blackmore, about the time that he took a dip on a pool exclusively of Daniels, something like that. That's what I will miss from Lemmy. He's I don't know if that's a word in English. He was authentic. You know, he was a real deal. More real than Lemmy.
Like Lemmy, I remember seeing a bit. It was another sort of television production, and this woman who was a friend of Lemmy's, her husband had some sort of like very negative disagreement with Lemmy. Like they had a disagreement with each other or something like that. And Lemmy actually wrote the guy a letter. And this was in the era of the internet. This was like during the time of email. This is when email existed.
He's completely vintage.
Yeah, like he wrote the guy a letter and actually sealed it with candle wax. You know, like that level of keeping the tradition. And he wrote the guy a letter saying, like, I hope that our disagreement will not ruin our friendship. Blah blah. I forget a lot of the details, but at one point he mentions, Motorhead, but he doesn't actually use the word Motorhead. He just says my band. That's just what he calls it. He just my band. Like, this is one of the fucking seminal bands in all of history, and he just says my band. Like and this was in a letter to a guy who, they just had a disagreement. Like, the guy really was a real, like, really genuine man,
Yeah, he was this old school. Well, he was British. He was British after all. So
yeah,
so basically old school.
Yeah,
it's old school.
I was just gonna say that he was Welsh, but then I remembered that Welsh is British, but it's British and not English. Yeah,
we don't want to get too deep into politics.
Yeah,
Basically, he was from the British Isles, so that's why it counts.
Right.
So yeah, he was yeah, like an old gentleman of metal. He was truly a man of his age, and I think it's admirable for a guy like that to. This is something that I always say about people like Rob Liefeld, if you know anything about comics,
Yeah.
or Donald Trump, if you're aware of who Donald Trump is. But yeah, I kind of admire whether I agree with them or not. People who are able to hold on to what they believe, regardless of
Yeah.
the times, regardless of what people tell them. I think that's a quality to admire.
Yeah.
And Lemmy was like that. He was like this monolithic figure of true metal badassery that refused to be altered. He had an apartment next to his favorite bar in LA. I mean,
Which I
that's
used
the
to
guy.
go to while I was living there.
Really?
I used to go. It's called the Whiskey A Go Go Bar, and I used to frequent that bar. Or no, the Rainbow Room.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
I heard
Rainbow
about
Room.
it.
Yeah,
It's not there where River Phoenix died.
the what?
The where River Phoenix, the actor, is I think he died there, or I may be mistaken.
I don't know if that's where he died, but I know that he did used to frequent that
Mm.
place. I don't know if he died there, but
Oh,
yeah.
go on, go on.
Apparently, whenever he was not on the road touring, which was often, um, it was usually there. You could usually find him there playing video games, playing one of the arcade video games. And if you went in, you could talk to him. I mean, like he would sit down at a table and have a beer with you. You could just go in and talk to him. Just the one rule was do not interrupt his video game.
I think that's a
That
pretty
was the
sensible rule.
that was the only rule. Do not interrupt his video game. That was it. Other than that, just wait for him to finish, and he'll sit down and you can have beers together. That's Lemmy Kilmister, because he was basically always there, just playing video games whenever he wasn't on the road touring.
That's what I meant before. He was really true to himself. That's what he
Yeah,
wanted from life. He wanted a good beer. He wanted a cigarette or half a billion cigarettes a day.
yeah, yeah.
A good beer. I mean, that's all he wanted from life. He was like
Hmm.
the good metal version.
Yeah,
So that's what I will miss from him the most. That level of again, I'm at a loss for words, but that level of
realness.
authenticity he had. Yeah, he was a
Yeah,
real deal.
just
He was
realness.
like this friend you had at the local pub that really made it to stardom, and still he wanted to be like he was before. He remained
Yeah,
unchanged by the fame
yeah,
and the
exactly.
fame. And that's what I meant before. I think that's really admirable for a person.
Yeah.
And that's all I have to say about Lemmy. No, not really, but that's what I like the most from him.
Well, that's kind of the idea of this little radio cast is for us to be able to just talk about our Lord and Master.
Yeah, well,
I
metal guy.
fucking when what is it? When I saw him in in Los Angeles, like he was just kind of like cracking jokes all the time between songs. Like at one point, because the House of Blues, it was at the House of Blues in Anaheim, and the House of Blues is kind of connected to Disneyland. And at one point, Lemmy made a joke about this. It's like, all right, like Disneyland had a concert and they needed somebody to come play at it, so they call fucking Motorhead. And like,
Disney.
I mean, he always had a sense of humor about himself. You know, I think that hello. Yeah, I think that we've lost brother Ebi. But yeah, I mean, like the guy. I mean, I know that I'm the only one talking right now, but at some point, somebody else is gonna listen. So Lemmy really, really had a deep sense of realness about himself. He, I don't know what I can say about the man that can possibly capture his spirit. I mean, like he was real. He helped father this style of music that is more than just a style of music. It's a living philosophy that is called metal today. He was one of the ones who helped father it. Like he was one of the ones who helped bring it into existence. It was Motorhead, Black Sabbath, Metallica, who really helped bring this whole international community into into this world. There's never going to be another Lemmy. There just won't. It's a man that we can all aspire to, that we can all aspire to be like, or at the very least, a man that we can all remember
Yeah.
and pass on, the story of and the wisdom of to future generations, so that maybe one day in the future, somebody else, maybe someone in progeny can create a movement of something new that we in our current age are just unable to imagine, because we just don't have we don't have the details of our current technology or social structure or
I'm suggesting
etc. to be able to predict what kind of revolution a future musician could produce.
definitely. I think musical revolutions. So yeah, nowadays musicians don't want to revolutionize. Is that a word? Anyway, I don't think they
Revolutionize.
want to change. Yeah, I don't think they want to revolutionize anything. They're more reproduced, prepackaged things.
Yeah.
I'm not really aware of what bands.
Yeah, it looks like we've lost him again. Hello, are you back? No. But yeah, in whatever way that future music and future culture changes, the memory of Lemmy and the story of Lemmy can help inspire maybe inspire someone to take up arms in their time, in their place. And create something new that will change everyone's lives at a time when it's needed. I'm balls into a liter of Albanian rakia right now, so I might not be entirely coherent.
Don't worry. People listening to
I actually don't know how much. If you can hear me, I actually don't know how much of what you're saying is getting broadcast and recorded. Because on my side, for me, you're kind of cutting out. But
nope. Doesn't work.
What was that? It looks like we've lost him again. Anyway, yeah, I've been listening to Motorhead since high school. I'm 32 right now. I've been listening to Motorhead since I was 15, I think. 15, 16, about half my life. And metal, metal really has saved my life in a lot of different ways. Metal has always been there for me. You know, during the roughest of times, metal has always been there to carry me through. Metal is an international community. It's not just a style of music. And I don't say this to be elitist. I don't say this to be egotistical. I don't say this to be pretentious. It's true. There is a bond of family among metalheads that I really don't perceive among enthusiasts and fans of other styles of music. Like, I don't. Like, for example, very very often, like the last time that I heard someone express this idea was from Randy Blythe when I saw Lamb of God at Grass Pop Metal Festival in Belgium, 2015. And he had said, "We're all brothers here. If somebody falls down, you pick him up." And that, I mean, to me, that really expresses that really conveys one of the central concepts of metal, not as a style of music, but as a living philosophy, is that metal, it really is unity. Metal is a family. Like, I have heard some of my friends and some people that I've met have told me that what is it? They've told me that you know, it's like rap and hip hop, that kind of thing. Like that, because rap is an international thing. There's rap everywhere. There's hip hop everywhere, just like metal. But I personally, I would have to. I know that it's a very broad statement, but I've heard it fairly often. I've heard it fairly often from friends of mine and from people that I've met and talked to. One of the fundamental differences I found is that at least in the United States, I can't really talk about terms in other parts of the world, but in the United States, there seems to be a lot of tension and disagreements among rap and hip hop depending on where they are geographically, like West Coast versus East Coast. I don't really know very much about that, but there seems to be disagreements between West Coast and East Coast rap and hip hop. But in heavy metal, nobody will ever. There will never be disagreements among metalheads because of where you're from. Because you're wearing the wrong color, because you know the wrong people. That's just it just wouldn't happen. Like, the metal is one family. It's one international family. And I don't really want to be the only one talking here, and it looks like nobody else is going to be joining, so I'm going to sign off here. I'll end with a little bit of a eulogy for for the great one, for Lemmy. That to say that he was an amazing man is an exceeding understatement. Lemmy was a force of nature. Lemmy was rock and roll itself. And the world has suffered a major, major loss with his passing. But he doesn't have to die and he doesn't have to die in dying. Lemmy can live on in all of us. In our stories, in our memories, in our actions, and in our carrying on his memories into the future. In his inspiration to us all. And I guess that with that I'll sign off. Have a nice day, everybody, and see y'all next time.